Good evening, everyone. This is Joe Henches. Hope everyone had a great Labor Day weekend. And this is a market update report for September 3rd, I guess the day is tomorrow. Let's first take a look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average. The industrial average closed at 14,810.31 on Friday. I think the big thing that we're looking at here is the Dow Industrials are coming on down and looking at this support area here around right between 14,500 and 14,600. You've got a lot of trading that occurred in this area back in April, late March, April. We've got the 200-day moving average that's coming up. So we should get some support here. I've talked about this a little bit on, let's look at the S&P 500. Talked about this a little bit last week, how the S&P 500 is actually hasn't pulled back nearly to the degree that the Dow Industrials have. It's hugging this trend line. Even the last 4 days of last week, it's hugging this trend line from last November. If it breaks down below and closes below the lows here of this last week, I think it's really going to push to these lows of the June low and even lower. This is where we're going to get support, 1538, 1560 on the S&P 500, the SPX, S&P 500. And the strongest of the indices has been the Nasdaq. It hasn't even come down to the trend line like the other two indices, much less broken it. It's like the Dow Industrials have it. The Nasdaq is hanging up here above its 50-day moving average. That's this line right here. So it's going to be interesting to see how this works out. Does the Nasdaq continue to pull higher and pull the others up, or does the Dow pull the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq down with it? It's right now looking a little on the weak side. So this will be an interesting one to watch. Let's take a quick look at oil. This is USO, the oil ETF. So this is going to be mirroring the performance of the oil futures contracts. So last 2 days last week, it pulled back. And you can see we're in a solid uptrend line here. The moving averages are all lined up, the 200-day, the 50-day, the gray 20-day, and then you've got the 10-day exponential. So even though we had a little bit of a pullback, it just pulled back to the 10-day, and this thing could easily continue up. It's going to be very sensitive, of course, to the Middle East tensions. We'll just have to wait to see what happens there. It looks at this point that it's broken out, and my guess is that it's going to continue to push higher. So let's see, gold. This will be the last one we'll take a look at. Again, I talked about how we hit this resistance point, and now we pulled back a little bit further on Friday. Again, we've got the 10-day exponential moving average here. Gold is a little more negative. You've got the 200-day moving average here. You got the 50-day coming down here. It's been in a very significant downtrend. And actually, we could probably even draw a trend line here. This trend line is kind of a short-term intermediate rally point. So the real key is going to be, do we continue to push up through this resistance and get above this point? I think, let me get rid of this. We get above this point and start to push above the 200-day, or do we roll over here? If we get a close below the 10-day and a confirming close below that and break this trend line, we're going to be heading back down to test the lows again. So that's what we're going to be watching for here on gold. And I think in the off hours, overnight hours here, the trading, gold is down. And that's the other thing on the S&P 500 and the Dow Industrials. They are up significantly. Mainly everybody's reacting to the fact that we did not start launching missiles into Syria yet. So the Dow Industrials, I think, are up. Dow futures are up like 112 points here at going on 6 o'clock in the evening Central Time. So economic reports this week. We had the ISM manufacturing index out tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock Central Time. We've got the Fed Beige Book at 1 o'clock on Wednesday, 1 o'clock Central Time. And then, of course, we've got the big payroll number on Friday that comes out the first Friday of every month. So It should be an interesting, active week, especially with all the news going on. So anyway, we'll be back in touch. I'll either give another market update. If there's something significant happens tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow night. If not, I'll do it Wednesday evening. So great trading, and talk to you soon.